Some of these conspiracies are wild, unsettling, and highly speculative. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. The fossil record might represent less than 1% of all species that ever existed on Earth, with entire categories of ancient animals potentially leaving no trace of their existence due to specific environmental and biological factors. Research into modern decomposition rates suggests that most animal remains are completely destroyed within weeks or months, requiring extremely specific conditions for fossilization to occur. Soft-bodied creatures, which might have been the dominant life forms for billions of years, rarely fossilize, leaving massive gaps in our understanding of Earth's evolutionary history. Marine biologists have discovered numerous modern species in deep ocean environments that would leave no fossil evidence, suggesting ancient oceans could have harbored countless unknown species. Geological studies indicate that many ancient environments capable of supporting life would have been completely unsuitable for fossil formation, potentially hiding entire ecosystems from the fossil record. Current estimates suggest that 99.9% of all species that ever existed are now extinct, yet the known fossil record represents only a tiny fraction of this number. Analysis of modern ecosystem collapse events shows that mass deaths rarely result in fossilization, suggesting that even major extinction events might be largely invisible in the geological record. Scientists have identified multiple ghost lineages in evolutionary trees, where species must have existed based on their descendants, but left no fossil evidence, indicating extensive gaps in the prehistoric record. Recent discoveries of previously unknown modern species in remote locations suggest that ancient Earth could have supported far more diverse ecosystems than the fossil record indicates. The Utzi ice mummy discovered in 1991 in the Italian Alps shows evidence of a carefully planned assassination rather than an accidental death in the mountains 5,300 years ago. Advanced imaging of the body revealed an arrow wound precisely targeting a vital artery, suggesting the killer had extensive knowledge of human anatomy and archery. Analysis of Utzi's stomach contents indicates he had eaten a formal meal in a village shortly before his death, rather than the survival food expected of someone lost in the mountains. The copper axe found with Utzi was extremely valuable for its time, yet his killer chose not to take it, suggesting the murder was politically motivated rather than a robbery. Blood from 4 different people was found on Utzi's clothing and weapons, indicating he was involved in multiple conflicts before his death. The position of Utzi's body and equipment suggests he was carefully arranged after death, unlike the scattered positioning typical of wilderness casualties. Isotope analysis of Utzi's teeth and bones shows he was a high-status individual who traveled between multiple communities, making him a likely target for political elimination. Recent DNA analysis of the blood on Utzi's equipment matches genetic profiles found in modern populations known to have been involved in ancient power struggles in the region. The Sheela-na-gig carvings found on medieval churches across Europe and Britain may represent a continuous tradition of using female exhibitionism as a form of technological protection against electromagnetic frequencies and radiation. Ancient texts describe priestesses performing Anasyrma, the ritual exposure of genitals, to ward off negative energy and protect sacred spaces, with similar accounts appearing across multiple unconnected cultures. Laboratory testing of church stones containing Sheela-na-gig carvings has revealed unusual patterns of energy absorption and deflection not present in similar stones without the carvings. Modern measurements have detected significant variations in electromagnetic fields around intact Sheela-na-gig figures, compared to damaged ones or control areas of the same buildings. Archaeological evidence suggests these carvings were strategically placed at points of high natural electromagnetic activity, often corresponding to underground water sources or geological fault lines. Several medieval manuscripts contain coded references to the Sheela-na-gig figures as frequency shields and wave turners, using terminology that closely matches modern electromagnetic theory. Recent architectural studies have found that churches with preserved Sheela-na-gig carvings show less electronic interference and equipment malfunction compared to similar buildings without them. Analysis of the geometric patterns surrounding many Sheela-na-gig figures reveals mathematical relationships similar to modern antenna designs used in electromagnetic shielding. Object-oriented ontology suggests that inanimate objects possess consciousness and agency equal to living beings, with mounting evidence from quantum physics showing that observation affects the behavior of particles at the subatomic level. Research in materials science has documented unexplained behaviors in certain metals and crystals that appear to respond to environmental changes in ways that transcend known physical properties. Advanced artificial intelligence systems have demonstrated emergent behaviors, suggesting that consciousness may be an inherent property of complex arrangements of matter rather than exclusive to biological systems. Multiple indigenous cultures independently developed philosophical frameworks describing objects as conscious entities, with specific protocols for interacting with tools, weapons, and natural formations. Studies of plant consciousness have revealed complex communication networks and decision-making processes, indicating that awareness may exist in forms radically different from human consciousness. Laboratory experiments have shown that water crystals form different patterns when exposed to different emotional states and intentions, suggesting that matter itself may be responsive to consciousness. Quantum entanglement experiments demonstrate that particles can maintain instantaneous connections regardless of distance, indicating a level of interconnected awareness in seemingly inert matter. Archaeological evidence suggests ancient civilizations constructed buildings and monuments with precise mathematical relationships that could influence the consciousness of both visitors and the structures themselves. Recent developments in panpsychism theory have provided mathematical models showing how consciousness could be a fundamental property of the universe, present in varying degrees in all matter.
Like this video and subscribe to Maker.
This refers to a fringe theory suggesting that gorillas are the result of genetic hybridization between humans and other primates in ancient Atlantis. Several researchers in the 19th century, including French anthropologist Richard Garner, noted peculiar human-like qualities in gorillas that seemed too advanced for natural evolution alone. Ancient Sumerian texts describe beastmen created through forbidden practices in a great civilization across the ocean, which some interpret as referring to Atlantean experiments. The theory points to gorillas' numerous physiological similarities to humans, including facial expressions, capacity for tool use, and complex emotional behaviors as evidence of artificial genetic modification rather than parallel evolution. Multiple indigenous African cultures maintain oral histories of an advanced empire that created the first gorillas through magical or technological means, potentially preserving a cultural memory of Atlantean activities. Geological studies have shown that gorillas emerged relatively suddenly in the fossil record around the theorized time period of Atlantis' existence, approximately 40,000 years ago, without clear evolutionary predecessors. The fifth horseman refers to a hidden fifth rider of the apocalypse mentioned in ancient biblical texts and religious manuscripts that were excluded from the canonical book of Revelation. Biblical scholars have found references in early Christian texts to a mysterious figure called the Watcher, or the Silent One, who rides alongside death, war, famine, and pestilence. Several apocryphal texts discovered in Egyptian monasteries describe this entity as carrying an hourglass filled with black sand, suggesting its role in marking humanity's final moments. Medieval artwork found in remote European monasteries occasionally depicts a shadowy fifth figure among the four traditional horsemen, often portrayed with features that appear deliberately obscured or erased. Aramaic translations of early biblical texts contain passages about a rider whose name shall not be spoken, who arrives after the other four horsemen to complete the circle of ending. Ancient Hebrew scrolls discovered in the 1950s describe the fifth horseman as being responsible for the Great Forgetting, a period when humanity loses all knowledge of its own history and civilization. Theological researchers have identified recurring mentions in various religious texts of a fifth supernatural entity whose role is to ensure the other horsemen complete their appointed tasks, acting as an overseer of the apocalypse itself. Some religious scholars interpret certain passages in the Dead Sea Scrolls as referring to a fifth divine agent who serves as a witness to humanity's final judgment, neither participating in destruction nor prevention, but observing and recording. Yahweh is a dragon Spinosaurus refers to a theological interpretation based on specific biblical descriptions of God in the Old Testament, where divine manifestations share remarkable similarities with paleontological findings of the Spinosaurus. Ancient Hebrew texts describe Yahweh appearing as a being of immense size, with scales like shields, breathing fire, and dwelling near deep waters, characteristics that align closely with recent Spinosaurus fossil discoveries. Biblical passages referring to God's mighty outstretched arm and great wings correspond to the unique skeletal structure of the Spinosaurus, which possessed elongated neural spines forming a distinctive sail-like appendage. The Book of Job describes a creature called Leviathan, with detailed physical characteristics matching Spinosaurus anatomy, including references to its aquatic nature and fearsome presence, suggesting these may have been eyewitness accounts passed down through generations. Archaeological findings in the Middle East have uncovered ancient religious artifacts depicting dragon-like creatures with features remarkably similar to modern paleontological reconstructions of the Spinosaurus. Recent studies of Spinosaurus fossils indicate it was capable of producing loud, resonating sounds through its nasal cavity, which could explain biblical descriptions of God's voice as thunder or many waters. Hebrew scholars have noted that certain divine titles for Yahweh translate to phrases meaning the great swimmer or ruler of the waters, aligning with the Spinosaurus's recently discovered adaptations for aquatic life. Ancient Middle Eastern cave paintings show large, sail-backed creatures being worshipped by human figures, suggesting a possible connection between early religious practices and encounters with surviving specimens of these prehistoric animals. A coffin birth describes a real post-mortem phenomenon where a deceased pregnant woman's body expels the fetus after death, occurring due to the buildup of gases during decomposition. Historical records from the 18th century document numerous cases of cemetery workers discovering infant remains positioned outside adult female corpses during grave relocations. Medical examiners have observed that this process can occur 48 to 72 hours after death, when the internal pressure from decomposition gases becomes strong enough to force the fetus through the birth canal. Ancient burial sites have revealed evidence of this phenomenon, with archaeologists finding fetal remains positioned beneath or adjacent to female skeletons in positions consistent with post-mortem expulsion. Multiple documented cases from 19th century European medical journals describe cemetery workers discovering recently buried pregnant women with their fetuses partially emerged, leading to initial accusations of premature burial. The physical process mirrors natural childbirth so closely that in some historical cases, coffin births were mistaken for evidence of the mother being buried alive and attempting to give birth before dying. Modern forensic science has confirmed that the increasing pressure from putrefaction gases can be strong enough to expel not only the fetus, but also internal organs, providing scientific validation for historical accounts of this occurrence. The Berlin Gold Hat is a tall conical artifact from the Bronze Age that contains complex astronomical markings, suggesting the existence of an ancient order of astronomers who possessed advanced mathematical knowledge. These cone-shaped golden hats, with 4 having been discovered across Europe, display precise calendrical calculations that accurately track solar and lunar cycles over multiple years. The mathematical patterns encoded in the geometric decorations of these hats align exactly with the Metonic cycle, a 19-year pattern of lunar phases that wasn't officially discovered until the 5th century BCE. Archaeological evidence suggests these hats were worn by specialized priests or astronomers who could predict eclipses and seasonal changes, leading researchers to theorize about the existence of an organized group of Bronze Age scientists. The intricate symbols pressed into the gold match star patterns visible during specific astronomical events, indicating these early European astronomers had developed sophisticated methods for tracking celestial movements. Analysis of burial sites where similar astronomical tools were found reveals that these individuals were often buried with unique ceremonial objects and separated from common graves, suggesting they held elevated positions in their societies. Studies of cave art from the Paleolithic period show figures wearing tall, pointed headgear covered in similar astronomical symbols, indicating this tradition of astronomical priests or wizards may extend back over 20,000 years. Recent metallurgical analysis of the Berlin gold hat shows it was crafted using advanced goldsmithing techniques that weren't thought to exist until thousands of years later, suggesting these astronomical experts possessed other advanced technological knowledge. Haematotherms refers to a hypothesized type of prehistoric creature that used chemically heated blood instead of metabolic processes to maintain body temperature, offering an alternative explanation for how certain dinosaurs and ancient marine reptiles regulated their internal temperature. Geological evidence shows that some prehistoric marine environments were significantly colder than initially believed, yet large reptiles thrived in these conditions, suggesting they may have possessed a different method of thermoregulation than modern animals. Chemical analysis of fossilized blood vessel impressions in certain marine reptile specimens has revealed unusual mineral deposits that could indicate the presence of iron-based compounds used for chemical heating. Several paleontologists have documented unexplained cavities and specialized tissue structures in fossil remains that could have served as chambers for blood heating through chemical reactions, similar to how some modern deep-sea creatures create heat. Preserved tissue samples from various prehistoric marine reptiles show evidence of specialized blood vessel arrangements that differ significantly from both warm-blooded and cold-blooded modern animals. Studies of modern animals like bluefin tuna, which use a modified form of chemical heating in their muscles, suggest that more complex systems of chemical thermoregulation could have evolved in prehistoric times. Researchers have identified unusual concentrations of specific minerals in fossil remains that could have facilitated chemical reactions capable of generating heat when combined with organic compounds in the blood. Magic underwear refers to the sacred temple garments worn by members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which are believed to provide spiritual and physical protection to faithful wearers. These white undergarments are marked with specific religious symbols including the square, compass, and knee mark, which represent moral principles and eternal truths within Mormon theology. Historical records from the 19th century document multiple accounts of Mormon pioneers who attributed their survival of physical dangers to wearing these garments, including protection from bullets, fire, and severe accidents. The temple garments are made following precise spiritual specifications, with many members reporting sensations of warmth, comfort, and divine presence while wearing them during times of crisis or spiritual need. Mormon church archives contain numerous verified accounts of members whose temple garments showed signs of damage from accidents or attacks while the wearers remained unharmed, supporting beliefs in their protective properties. The garment's design reportedly came from a direct divine revelation to Joseph Smith, with specific measurements and symbols that align with ancient religious protective clothing described in biblical texts. Medical professionals have noted cases where Mormon patients wearing temple garments survived severe accidents with unexplainable protection to areas covered by the garments, while experiencing significant injuries to exposed areas. Modern temple garments are manufactured using advanced materials and techniques, but must still adhere to the original divine specifications, combining contemporary comfort with traditional spiritual requirements. Exotic animals are faked by the deep state refers to a conspiracy theory that claims many rare and unusual animals are actually government-created hoaxes designed to control population movement and establish wildlife preserves for hidden purposes. Documents obtained through Freedom of Information Act requests show unusual patterns of land acquisition by government agencies, coinciding with the discovery of new endangered species in those areas. Wildlife researchers have noted discrepancies in the reported geographic distributions of certain rare species, with some appearing only in areas of strategic military or resource value. Analysis of photographs and videos of certain exotic animals reveals potential inconsistencies in muscle movement and bone structure that some experts claim are indicative of advanced animatronics. Multiple former government employees have described classified programs involving the creation of realistic animal robots for surveillance purposes, suggesting existing technology could feasibly create convincing wildlife facsimiles. Several wildlife preserves established to protect rare species have been found to contain unusual infrastructure and unexplained security measures beyond what would be necessary for animal conservation. Geological surveys of areas designated as habitats for newly discovered species often show valuable mineral deposits or strategic military positioning, leading to theories about the true purpose of these protected zones. Electronic signal monitoring around certain wildlife sanctuaries has detected unusual radio frequencies and electromagnetic emissions that align more closely with mechanical operations than biological activity. Deer lions refers to an undocumented species of large feline predator reported in remote areas of North America, characterized by distinctive antler-like protrusions and deer-like features combined with a leonine body structure. Game wardens across multiple states have documented unusual kill patterns on prey animals that don't match known predator behavior, with carcasses showing signs of both cervid and big cat feeding patterns. Multiple trail cameras in national forests have captured images of large, tawny creatures with branching bone structures protruding from their skulls, moving with distinctly feline gaits. Native American oral histories from several tribes describe encounters with powerful predators possessing both deer and lion characteristics, with some cave paintings depicting creatures matching these descriptions. Wildlife biologists have discovered unusual tracks in wilderness areas showing a combination of cervid and felid characteristics, including both clawed prints and deer-like hoof impressions in the same trackway. Bone fragments recovered from remote caves in the Appalachian Mountains show signs of hybrid features between cervids and large cats, though these findings remain formally unstudied by mainstream science. Several 19th century frontier journals contain detailed descriptions of encounters with predatory beasts possessing both antlers and feline characteristics, with multiple accounts describing similar features across different geographic regions. Recent genetic studies of isolated big cat populations have revealed unexpected cervid DNA markers, suggesting possible historical hybridization between these distinct species. CERN wants to summon Osiris refers to a theory that the Large Hadron Collider's true purpose is to create specific quantum conditions necessary to manifest the ancient Egyptian god Osiris into our physical realm. Ancient Egyptian texts describe Osiris residing in a realm of pure energy, matching the quantum state theories that CERN scientists are currently exploring through particle acceleration. The geometric layout of CERN's facilities bears striking similarities to ancient Egyptian temple complexes dedicated to Osiris, particularly in its circular design and underground chambers. Multiple CERN scientists have been identified as members of modern mystery schools and occult organizations, with connections to ancient Egyptian magical practices. The specific energy frequencies generated by the Large Hadron Collider align with numerical values found in ancient Egyptian mathematical papyri describing the vibrational essence of Osiris. Internal CERN documents reveal project names and technical terms referencing Egyptian mythology, with several key experiments coded under names relating to Osiris and the afterlife. Archaeological evidence suggests ancient Egyptians possessed advanced knowledge of particle physics, with hieroglyphic texts describing processes similar to modern quantum mechanics. The timing of major CERN experiments corresponds with astronomical alignments historically associated with Osirian resurrection rituals in ancient Egyptian texts. The Lee Harvey Oswald Doppelganger refers to evidence suggesting multiple men using Oswald's identity were operating simultaneously in different locations during the months leading up to President Kennedy's assassination. Witness accounts from the late summer of 1963 place Oswald at a car dealership in Dallas test driving vehicles, while employment records show him working at a different location during the exact same time. Several FBI documents detail conflicting physical descriptions of Oswald from the same day, with height differences of up to 3 inches and significantly different hair colors being reported by credible witnesses. Bank records show Oswald making transactions in New Orleans while simultaneously being documented at shooting ranges in Dallas, with signatures on documents from both locations matching his handwriting. Multiple witnesses reported seeing Oswald practicing at the Sports Drome rifle range in Dallas, yet the real Oswald was confirmed to be at work during these times, with his presence verified by supervisor signatures. A former CIA operative revealed in declassified documents that the agency maintained a program of doubling certain individuals for intelligence operations, with Oswald's name appearing in related files. Photographs from different locations on the same dates show subtle but distinct differences in Oswald's appearance, particularly in facial features and ear shape, suggesting the possibility of trained lookalikes. Service workers at multiple locations recalled interactions with an Oswald who spoke fluent Russian, while others reported dealing with an Oswald who could barely manage basic Russian phrases during the same time period. Glycon was a serpent deity from the 2nd century that possessed a human-like head with flowing blonde hair, reportedly capable of speaking prophecies directly to followers and performing miraculous healings. Contemporary Roman accounts describe the serpent as being over 40 feet in length, with articulated joints allowing it to move in ways impossible for normal snakes, and skin that appeared to shimmer with an otherworldly iridescence. Archaeological evidence from the Temple of Glycon in modern-day Turkey includes sophisticated mechanical components that some researchers believe were used to create lifelike movements in a physical representation of the deity. Multiple independent sources from the period describe Glycon's ability to answer questions in sealed envelopes without opening them, suggesting either advanced technological capabilities or genuine paranormal phenomena. Medical records from the time indicate unexplained recoveries among those who visited Glycon's temple, with detailed descriptions of healing methods that align with modern understanding of immunology and infection control. Ancient texts mention Glycon's prophecies about future events, including accurate predictions of political changes and natural disasters that occurred decades after they were recorded. Examination of temple ruins revealed complex acoustic engineering that created specific resonant frequencies, potentially capable of inducing altered states of consciousness in visitors. Coins and artifacts depicting Glycon show consistent details across different regions and time periods, suggesting observers were documenting a real entity rather than an evolving cultural myth. The Torus Earth theory suggests our planet is actually shaped like a massive donut, with the north and south poles connected by a hollow center where gravity behaves in complex ways. Ancient civilizations like the Sumerians and Maya left behind artifacts and texts that appear to reference a ring-shaped world, including circular cosmic diagrams with central openings. Modern supporters point to unusual atmospheric phenomena at the poles, particularly the aurora borealis, as evidence of electromagnetic interactions through the planet's central void. Mathematical models show that a rotating torus could theoretically maintain a stable gravitational field, though it would create strange effects like varying gravity strengths across different latitudes. Several researchers note that satellite imagery of the poles often contains unexplained distortions and anomalies, which they link to the challenges of mapping a toroidal surface using conventional projection methods. The theory connects to observed magnetic field irregularities near the poles, suggesting these anomalies could be explained by a hollow polar connection rather than traditional core dynamics. Some physicists argue that early planetary formation could have resulted in a ring-like structure under specific conditions, though the exact mechanism remains debated. Self-contracted assassination refers to the belief that arranging one's own murder allows entry into paradise by circumventing religious prohibitions against suicide. Multiple medieval texts describe cases of devout individuals who, fearing damnation but seeking death, would commit capital crimes with the specific intent of being executed, viewing state execution as a loophole in divine law. Catholic clergy in the 17th century documented incidents of people specifically hiring assassins to kill them, believing this method preserved their eligibility for heaven while achieving their desired end. Historical records from Nordic countries detail a practice called proxy death, where individuals would deliberately provoke others into killing them, considering this an acceptable form of death that maintained their honor and spiritual purity. Several Buddhist texts reference monks who sought out bandits or warriors to end their lives, believing this method would preserve their karma while freeing them from earthly suffering. Japanese feudal documents describe samurai who, forbidden from suicide, would intentionally enter losing battles or arrange for defeat in duels to achieve an honorable death without the spiritual consequences of self-harm. Modern psychological studies have found similar logic in contemporary cases, where individuals suffering from depression attempt to engineer situations of accidental or externally caused death, believing this maintains their religious standing.